On this, my first real video of the new year, I know I uploaded a video this morning, but that was one I actually recorded yesterday. So this is the first video which is actually being recorded in 2022, January 1st. I wanted to consider the scapegoating of the non-bajjed. And those of you who are new to my channel don't know what I mean by bajjed. Just think of baj and think of it backwards. This is my surreptitious way of making reference to something that YouTube is very censorious about. If I were more open about it, I wish I could speak of it more openly without this kind of dumb code language, but that's the way it goes. There is undoubtedly, it is undoubtedly being unleashed right now. It is being seeded from the highest houses of authority. Not that the White House is particularly authoritative, not that I think of them that way, but they, or many others do. I mean, they're a joke right now. I believe, but nevertheless, as an institution, it still has a lot of clout. And as you know, just before Christmas, they came out with this awful sort of medical statement saying, if you're bajjed, if you've gotten the baj and the booster baj, then you're good, and everything's going to be okay, and we're going to take care of you. We're all in this together. But if you're not one of the bajjed, you can look forward to a winter of death and dying in despair, and clogging up the hospitals. And there was just this contempt in the wording of it. But that's exactly in line with what our illustrious president said earlier in the year, when he said, we're losing patience. We're losing patience with you. Speaking to the non-bajjed. And again, I've read or heard it said, if you're one of these non-bajjed people, you're ruining things for everybody. Things would, this whole thing would be working out, but if not for you, this whole campaign would be working out, if not for you and your stubbornness and your disinclination to be good citizens and take this junk into your body. And the booster junk as well, and the booster junk as well, and so forth and so on. So the first thing I want to say about this is it's deeply irrational, because it doesn't even make any internal sense. It's like what they were trying to say about masks a little while ago, that if you're not wearing a mask, that you're, of course, I've got to be careful. Maybe I should use some kind of code language for that word as well, because I recorded a video about that subject and got in trouble. But they used to say, if you don't put this piece of cloth over your face, clogging up your airways, your nasal and your mouth's airways, then you are essentially making old people get sick, because you're spreading around the disease, and you're passing it on to people who are going to be vulnerable, and so you're responsible for killing them. That was always a deplorable, despicable rhetorical effort on their part, I believe, and it never had any real weight behind it, because as you might know, what it said on those boxes of cloth chin diapers or face diapers, not effective against blank 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 19. It actually said that before everybody stopped talking about it. But anyway. But when that was the case, then they at least could make their own. I mean, that they could. It had an internal logic to it, even if it was bogus. Even if the internal logic itself was bogus, it worked. In the same way that I don't know, you make up some fantastical process and it's internally consistent, right? It's not may not be real, but at least it's not self-contradicting. But this effort to castigate and scapegoat the non-bajjed doesn't even work on that level, because even according to the believers in the magical elixir, the stuff they want you to put in your arms, the people who swear by that stuff, they still say that this does not stop you from catching the virus, and it does not stop you from spreading the virus. What it does, ostensibly, again, for those who believe it to be safe and effective, mostly effective, what it does is it makes it so that your symptoms don't manifest as severely. So instead of getting really sick, you just get a little bit sick. But you can still get it, and you can still pass it to someone else. So, in other words, the non-bajjed don't figure in this at all, not in the least. They're not a threat. This whole idea of casting someone out, like saying we have to have everybody be bajjed if they're going to be on this cruise ship because we want everybody to be safe. Well, that doesn't make sense. You're not protecting the bajjed by putting the non-bajjed among them, because the non-bajjed or the bajjed, the ones who have taken the magical arm jab, the hot beef injection, the ones who have taken it are just as inclined to get the illness and to spread the illness. So, therefore, this whole desire to exclude from polite company the non-bajjed, to exclude them from being able to eat in restaurants or attend shows or get on cruise ships or whatever else. This is done supposedly out of a desire to protect the bajjed. But look, if you're bajjed, if you've gotten the injection, then what do you have to fear from somebody who hasn't gotten it? You're already going to get it, and you're already going to pass it on. The only difference is that if the bajjed works for you, when you get it, it won't be as bad. But you'll still be just as contagious as the non-bajjed. So therefore, having the non-bajjed be excluded makes less logical sense even than excluding people for not wearing things over their faces. Just for what I've said, there's no internal logic to it. There's no greater danger that is posed by the non-bajjed to the bajjed than by the bajjed to other bajjed people. Okay? I hope everybody's following me now through all of this. I'm basically saying that if you haven't gotten it, uh, and and they're excluding you because you haven't gotten it, and they are uh, scapegoating you, and they are seeding from on high. That's what I find that to be the most insidious thing. This rhetoric from on high, where they have some lofty uh, high mucky muck or other, uh, you know, say stuff like, it's you're deeply irresponsible if you haven't taken this thing in your arm, if you haven't gotten this junk uh, injected into your body. That's deeply, deeply irresponsible of them. And speaking to them, speaking to us, because I'm one of them, in this way. It seems like an organized campaign to shame and and to castigate and to scapegoat. Let me open this up to a wider question, though. And this is something I've heard other people talk about, as I've been scanning various social media. Sometimes, I'm not on much social media, but I have a few good friends with some good ideas, and I enjoy reading what they have to say. And somebody made the observation, and it really resonated with me, and it's something that I've thought of as well, that it is extraordinary how in the last 2 years becoming sick has made a person into I don't want to say a leper, because we shouldn't be mean to lepers either, but I'm saying before 2 years ago, if you were with a group of people and you said, I've got this really bad cold, I just can't seem to shake it. And what do y'all think? What should I do? And you were with a group of people, they would say, oh, that's too bad. Why don't you, have you tried this remedy? Have you tried this kind of medicine? But today, if you're sitting with a group of people and you said, I've got this really bad cold, and what should I try to restore myself back to health? What are people trained to do now if they hear that from you? Compassion goes out the window. It's just like, this person needs to be isolated. They'll respond to you like, if you're sick, what are you doing among us, you creep? Go away from us. Go isolate yourself for 3 to 5 days and get tested, you irresponsible creep. You would be super spreader. And so the days of seeing the sick as people to sympathize with and commiserate with, and not to shun. Of course, if somebody had a cold or a flu or some bug or something, of course you don't go breathe on them or anything like that. You don't share their pillow. Common sense sorts of things like that. But the whole idea that someone is sick, even not, and it's not even. It'd be one thing if it was something, like cholera or the Ebola virus or leprosy, something where it's a really serious, life-threatening, in and of itself kind of case, with no known cure. That's what they, in the past, there was no known cure for these kinds of illnesses that were contagious. So in cases like that, it made sense. I still think, you still should treat them. People were still should still have felt compelled to treat them with compassion, but it made more sense to say, well, they should go off somewhere and be quarantined from the rest of us, because so that we can contain this illness, this serious illness. But today, with things like colds, Omicron is nothing more than a cold. It's a cold. And and as somebody said the other day on Instagram, if 2 or 3 years ago you said, I have a really bad cold, the response would be, oh, you poor thing, here, let me cook you some chicken noodle soup, and maybe that'll make you feel better. But if you say, I feel like I have a cold today, that's Omicron, you need to stay away from me. What are you doing next to me? You need to go far from me and far from everybody else, and be isolated for days. And wear the scarlet O on your chest. It's undeniable the way that they have trained us to be less compassionate towards one another when it comes to illness. They've trained us to see one another as vectors of disease rather than as fellow human beings, to be taken care of, to be commiserated with, to talk with. Instead, it's just like, if you aren't the perfect picture of health, then you need to go away. You need to go away right now. That's the attitude that they've successfully seeded into the minds of many people. I think it is depressing. It's depressing how successful they have been at this kind of brainwashing. And just to think that, like 3 years ago, you being sick, if you were sick and you told someone you were sick, it would be like, oh, I'm sorry. It wouldn't be, well, get away from me. I don't want you to be next to me. What are you doing out anyway? I mean, I wrote an article in my series of articles that I wrote in 2020 called "Lockdown is a PSYOP." I wrote one about Michael Jordan and the flu game that he played in, a game where he ostensibly had the flu, but it was a championship game, so he forced himself out there, even though he felt terrible, and because champions don't quit just because they're not feeling well, and everybody thought this was such a heroic, rousing story at the time. Nobody at the time was saying, Michael, you're going to make other players sick. Michael, there's grandmothers in the stands. You're gonna kill somebody's grandma. Nobody was talking that way back in 1997 when Michael Jordan had his flu game. Anyway, I'll link back to that article for those who were interested. Those are some thoughts about the scapegoating, the planned on high scapegoating of the non-bajjed, the insidiousness of it all, the evilness of it all. Let me know what you think.